It wasn't an organized action. It was a response to harm. I'm sick of racism. I don't feel safe. They get to remain anonymous, but I don't. So I felt after that experience, I could not go back to a place that fails to see my value as someone who actually saves lives. I provide care. I offer a life skill. My participation, my essential work is evidence based to improve maternal health outcomes. And currently, I'm employed, the only employed person in our practice that provides continuity care to Black families that can do that. And yet, we value sheriffs, a greater than $20 million contract with a system that has been proven to harm. Less than 1% of hospitals in the nation use cops as their primary security yet. In the only sanctuary hospital in the city, we have cops. We know there's better ways. There's substantial evidence showing that public safety, community safety can happen without police. Again, police cause harm, and that's well documented. I believe in safety. I believe in safety for all, not just a selected few. From when the police was created to catch and harm and kill and traumatize people who were trying to escape for freedom. Since that time, they've been causing harm and they've had hundreds of years to reform. Yet, reform does not work. And so, for some of us, where do we go for safety when our schools and our hospitals have police? And as a midwife, what does it mean for me to carry out my job safely and catch a new Black or brown baby? A baby a family has dreamed of, has cared for their bodies, the nutritional makeup and parts of that little human being that I get to catch. How, what does my job mean when, for example, on October 10th, Cesar Vargas, 21 years old, was shot down by police? Mario Woods was shot down by police. What does it mean for me to catch these babies when they later go on and be killed? Do we value Black humanity? Do we value brown humanity? Do we value the most marginalized? If so, we must stop allowing a murderous system to continue to harm us, because I can't do my job effectively. The science is there. Now it's a question of who we allow to make choices that govern everyone's ability to respect science. And there are so many people at the hospital who have witnessed traumatic experiences. And the city put out a report that the amount of sheriff harm is disproportionate to Black community. And the mayor still went ahead and funded the sheriffs, the police, and is going to give them a raise next year. I have not heard from the hospital administration. No one's reached out to me personally and apologized. The sheriffs have not either. And as I mentioned before, I still don't know who those sheriffs are. And that just goes to show, um, to me, the hospital's values came by in silence. So, again, back to your question about why I chose this route, I really felt like I didn't have an alternative. And as the days go by, I feel more reassured with my action and um, proud of myself for respecting myself and prioritizing my well-being.
You know, I first learned about you from an article that was written in the San Francisco Examiner that was entitled "Police Do Not Belong in Hospitals Either." It was written by 3 physicians and described your experiences with violence and also your protests. So I want to ask, how important has it been to have solidarity with colleagues as well as lay folks who endorsed the petition?
I chose to work at San Francisco General Hospital because I would be serving the very people I identify with. So, community to me is really important. And um, it's been an amazing experience over the years to meet so many trainees and learners who also share that community value. Um, so when the strike happened, um, I was greatly moved by my colleagues who reached out to me and shared an understanding and um, of the harm being done. And I mean, a lot of providers talk about it, and here was a moment of action that happened organically and not planned. And it really moved me to see people who often work up to, I mean, I'm probably misrepresenting doctors' work hours, but I swear they work over 75 hours a week at the time. And I was so moved by their ability to manage that and be supportive and organized. As you read in the article, there's been a long going um, campaign to remove the sheriffs from the hospital. And so to be able to join a collective group of experts in healthcare um, in this kind of way was a moment of growth for me and healing. And regarding to community, I've gone to almost every march since my strike, and I've been greatly moved by the people who show up again and again in solidarity with community and Black lives, Brown lives, Indigenous lives that have been harmed by the police system. And one of the best tools of a midwife is to listen. And so I've been listening to community, and when asked, I share my experience. And um, that's also been really healing for me. I hear, I hear and understand that there are people who only feel safe with cops. I hear that. That was also true when the police system was established during enslavement. I hear that. But that's not the people I serve. I serve those who are marginalized. And disproportionately, those who have been marginalized have been harmed by police. And police, through reform, have yet to understand the value of listening to humans, have yet to understand what de-escalation means, have yet to understand what mental health services and access to mental health services means, have yet to understand the chemistry and the science and the compassion needed to serve those who are on a journey recovering and healing from substance use disorders. And so police do not belong responding to situations that disproportionately are made up of individuals in those categories. We need to divest financial resources from a force that is militarized and has harmed us, and instead invest in the community people who are trained to serve us. For example, I'm a midwife, I'm an essential healthcare worker, and I have the tools and skills to save lives. We should invest in more Black and Indigenous and people of color midwives. We should invest in healthcare workers that reflect the populations that they serve, and trained personnel that understand and value de-escalation and mental health services and access to homes and resources.
Just to repeat what you've mentioned before that I read about, was less than 1% of hospitals in our country rely on law enforcement as their primary security source. Since July, 3 of the 29 sheriffs have been removed from duty at your hospital. The public health director is developing a proposal to significantly change the security model and uplift a quote unquote healing environment. I guess my question would be is if you could speak to them directly, what might this mean for you?
There is recommendation to remove all sheriffs, which is also what my strike calls for. So I will not go back if there's even one sheriff still employed at our hospital. So I would just inform the hospital that it's important to listen to experts and relinquish power in a moment where science can really, and experts and community can lead.
Because what's the point of me going in and catching a baby and securing that human's life and promising this family that we got their back, and then 21 years later they're murdered, like Cesar Vargas on October 10th, or Mario Woods, or